What's going on today, guys? This is Colin here, and I wanted to try something different with my the way I record in OBS. So if anything looks a little bit crisper, that's why. So I did this all for you guys. Of course, I'm not doing it for myself because it kind of sort of tanks some of the performance. But with that being said, I hope you enjoy the video, and let's begin. So as something that affects me a little bit because it is a game that is very near and dear to me because I love racing games. I want to talk about why I don't really like online adventure in Forza Horizon 4. And for those who are in the community, I'm sure you can relate because nobody really likes online adventure in Horizon 4. And let's just jump into the reasons for it. This will be my usual unscripted thought unload manner of doing things. So if it takes me a little bit to comprehend my thoughts and get them out, just bear with. They will come out one way or another. So yeah, let's get into it. So the first thing I wanted to discuss is meta cars, which is a very it's basically the reason why nobody likes playing online adventure. Basically, you have like 6 or 7 cars that people use, and it's just not fun because I'll go to take my R32 GTR out because I think, okay, it's gonna be fun today. No, we have people bringing out 4 GTs, McLaren 12Cs, McLaren F1s, Alfa Romeo 8Cs, which I'm guilty of sometimes too, because there are times where it's like, fuck it, I just want to win, and I take out a meta car and I will win. But it's not very fun, it's not very competitive, and it's not good racing, because what you'll usually have is you'll have the 3 people up in front that are using meta cars, and then you'll have like 4 or 5 other people grouped up in the back that are actually like picking out diverse cars. Nobody's really having any good racing, and nobody that has a non-meta car ever really gets first place unless if you are really good. And I hate to say it, but a lot of the time a lot of people's wins just come down to the car they choose. It's not a matter of how skilled you are, it's a matter of how good your tune is, it's a matter of how good your car is. So for the people who use OP cars, and they think it's absolutely wonderful what they do, and they win every single race, you're not skilled, you're just using an OP car. And I think people know that, but for the 2 people who don't, newsflash, you're not good. You're not Lance Stroll. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is the lack of choice when it comes to what season you're racing in, because I find myself more often in a snow lobby than I do any other lobby, and it is the most annoying thing ever. Literally, the most annoying thing ever. Because I just want to race, I just want to race a fucking 350Z, and I don't want to have to keep racing what should be a rally car, because let's face it, the only way you ever actually are able to race in the winter competitively is if you bring out a dirt car in the same class you're supposed to be racing the road race in. At least that's how I always do it, and I'm most of the time successful in doing so. But I think that's pretty much the meta. People usually bring out their Hoonigan RS cars, and they'll just fucking obliterate the entire competition, and it's just not fun. I want to be able to pick out what season I'm racing in, because I don't want to have to race in one kind of car all the time. Fuck it, just take out winter in road racing. You can put winter in rally racing all you want, because you're basically just racing the same exact cars you would anyways. But road racing, it's so much different, because you have to have one car, right? You have to have one car for winter, and then you have to have other cars for just other seasons. It's just annoying. Just don't, or make it just a rare occurrence. But it just seems like 50% of the fucking seasons you race in on road racing are winter. As to why, I don't know. So I barely see any summer. Fuck, I barely see any spring. Like, spring is just, there's no spring. It's either autumn or it's summer. There's no spring, but goddamn if there is not winter all the fucking time. And it is the most agitating thing. Just take out winter in road racing. Nobody wants to race in winter on the road because, one, you basically have to rely on the course you're taking. Okay, so for the people who don't know, right, there are basically two surfaces in winter S2, or not S2. There are basically two road types in winter road racing. You have the normal roads, which are perfectly plowed. There's no snow on them. Or there's a little snow on them, but there's not a shit ton of snow, right? And then you have the covered roads, which are still asphalt, but they are absolutely covered in snow, and they basically are just dirt roads that have asphalt under them, but they behave basically like dirt roads. So you have to bet on the track you're racing on, consisting of either one or the other, in order to be successful. And it's not competitive. It's just a matter of chance. You could memorize which circuits and which roads do and don't have those two kinds of roads, but that's no fun. That's literally just being the most fucking tryhard. Why can't it just be consistent? So for the people who pick out a car expecting to be able to race it in on every kind of road, because you're road racing, you're not dirt racing. Why make a road racing course that you have to use dirt cars on because the fucking road acts like it's a dirt road? Why do you want that? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't. Yet Playground Games still thinks, oh yeah, that's great, that's wonderful, let's just do that. And I think it's more of a problem altogether with the fact that there are those kinds of roads on the map anyways in winter time, because nobody's able to use the cars they want to use in winter, and they end up having to use an all-wheel drive car, which, I mean, is fine for the 12-year-olds who use them all the time, but for me, who actually doesn't want to have to use them all the time, it's not very cool. So I'm sure a lot of the community feels that way. So anyways, putting winter into road racing doesn't make logical sense, because you end up with inconsistent courses. You end up with people who are really good on one surface and are really shit on the other surface, and it really comes down to who has the best car for the surface that presents itself the most on that specific online adventure session. So if there are more paved roads than there are unpaved, if there are more plowed roads than unplowed roads, you're going to end up getting people who are in supercars that win. But if you have more unplowed roads than plowed roads, you're going to get more of the rally cars that are going to be winning those kinds of races. And it's just not fun. Just make it consistent so people can, take the car they want and not have to worry about which roads you're gonna have to face on that specific online session, if that makes any sense. And I know I might be confusing some people, so let's just boil it down so far. Road racing in online adventure needs to have winter taken out because of the way road conditions are in Forza Horizon 4. It skews car choice, and it skews consistency, which means some people will lose in some races and others will win in other races, just because the road conditions are different in every single race in winter. And it sucks for people who just want to be able to race knowing that they'll have an equal amount of chance at winning that online adventure. Then the next thing I want to talk about is PI, which kind of sort of ties into one of my previous points. But PI, or Performance Index, is something that has been plaguing Forza as an issue for many years now, because it is very inconsistent, it is very broken, and it allows for meta cars that shouldn't be meta, and it doesn't make for any sort of competitive racing. It just makes for either domination or total loss. So how PI is judged, from what we all understand, what we were told by Playground Games, is an AI will take your car on a virtual test track, and it will see, I guess, what time that car registers. I think it will see what kind of time that car will get, and using that, it will assign the car a PI value. And of course that's broken, because not everyone drives the same way the AI does. And even if the AI thinks one way of driving is optimal, on that test track, because there's only one test track the AI uses, that car could be OP on any other kind of track, and the AI won't know about it, and it will still clock it as one PI over another. So it's just flawed, and it makes for OP cars. And I can list a couple off right now that I think I listed off earlier. You have the McLaren 12C. You have the Alfa Romeo 155. You used to have the Bone Shaker, which thank God that's no more. The Tractor, which thank God that's no more. You have the Ford GT. You have the McLaren F1. You have the Ferrari 458 with rally tires, and you have the Koenigsegg CCGT, which for all intents and purposes, I think that is the most balanced out of all of them, because it has it doesn't have very good acceleration in S2 class, and it doesn't have actually it has good acceleration, doesn't have good top speed. And so it balances itself out, but it has crazy fucking grip compared to a lot of the other S2 cars. So we'll consider it a little OP, but it's not game breaking. But there are so many other cars too. I think the Pagani Zonda is one of the OP cars in S2 class, and Shelby Monaco, although not so much in online as an online adventure as in Rivals, I still see it in online. Like, Jesus Christ, the Shelby Monaco is just a crazy car in S1 sprint racing. There are just so many cars that are meta just because of the way PI is scored. And if I have any suggestions to fix it, I'm going to refer you over to a Purple Guy video. He's a really good Forza YouTuber. He basically just suggests a perfect way of fixing PI, so it's not nearly as broken as it is right now. And again, incredible guy. I'll basically go over some of the changes he suggests. So one of the things he suggests basically is allowing for a horsepower slider, which basically allows you to just pick out how much horsepower you want your engine to make. So you can upgrade your car without having to fuck around with performance parts constantly, just to see if you can get exactly to the top of S1 class or the top of S2 class. Oh wait, if I remove the camshaft, I'll have to add this, or if I remove the intake, I'll have to, it's that sort of thing. And it's very much a math game with Forza and the PI system to make sure you're at the top of each class. And it shouldn't be like that. It should just be a matter of, okay, I want my car to perform to this level, and I very much agree. Just making a slider for horsepower, and just, okay, I want my GTR to make 800 horsepower, and you can go from there in terms of rank. I think that's great. The other thing he suggests is making a flat rate for drivetrains, which I very much agree with, because all-wheel drive is so OP, and rear-wheel drive is more Rear and front wheel drive are more viable in lower class online adventures, but you basically don't see them in anything other than lower class online adventures. All you see in S1 and above is all-wheel drive, and that is just because it's OP and it doesn't actually cost that much PI compared to the performance gains from it. And so what he suggests is basically giving a flat rate to PI. So the example he put out was basically 50 PI points for all-wheel drive and 20 for rear and front wheel drive. So this basically allows for people who don't run all-wheel drive to put on way more performance upgrades, because all-wheel drive cars are guaranteed to have that 50, whereas the other cars that are not are guaranteed to have that 20, which means those cars that have a PI of 20 have way more room to have parts on them, which would make them faster and of better handling and whatever, which would basically balance out the playing field a little bit. So, there are solutions to this, and I'm not just going off on a rant about how whatever. There are some good solutions to this, and Forza just doesn't want to implement them because Forza is Forza, and Forza right now is pretty stupid. So, knowing that, we probably won't get a proper change to the PI system. I think we all know why, we just don't want to accept it. And that reasoning is Forza is a casual game. And Horizon at least is. And Forza really doesn't, or Playground Games doesn't really want to put in the time and effort to make a proper, good racing experience online, because it really doesn't change the sales. People will buy Forza Horizon because Forza Horizon is a good looking game and nothing much else. For the hardcore fans like us, we pretty much get shafted. I mean, we got new cars and that's about it, but even then that appeals to casual players. There's not really much in the way of hardcore. If you notice, there's not much change. Like, there hasn't been much change with engine sounds. Engine sounds still suck ass. Just because it doesn't really matter to casual players. It doesn't. So, we're not getting changes because Forza is a casual game, and as long as it sells well, Playground Games doesn't need to do shit. All they need to do is keep adding cars for the casuals, keep coming back to want to earn them, and they don't need to do it much else. And I think the same thing is going to be with Horizon 5. They don't want to do anything with the engine sounds. Why? Why should they? They say, oh yeah, we fixed the engine sounds. Well, there's going to be like 3 more engine sounds. Instead of V8 number 2, it's going to be like V8 like whatever, V10. It just, there's no reason for them to fix anything financially and logically. We're a very niche demographic for them, and they just don't see the need to fix anything. And it doesn't really help that IGN just gave Forza Horizon 4 a 92. Not a 92, sorry. That doesn't help that Metacritic placed Forza at 92. My bad. I forgot that Metacritic existed for 2 seconds there, but yeah, like, it doesn't help that people just praise Forza Horizon 4 because it's a gorgeous looking game. But they'll forget about the hardcore audience and what they think of it, just because, like I said, we're a niche audience. As long as, IGN sees gorgeous car game number 5365, it doesn't matter to them. It doesn't matter to Playground Games what else happens. They have a successful game. They don't need to change anything. They'll just do it again. And that's probably what we're going to be getting with the next game. But with that aside, I want to talk about the last problem, which is servers. Now, servers in Forza Horizon 4 suck. And I know I don't have the best internet. And, that's just because I live in the middle of nowhere. I'm living where my next door neighbor's a cow, goes moo, whatever. And I still run off a DSL. But I still get 20 megabits per second speed. And it's decent. It's good enough to stream HD video in 60 frames per second. For some reason, however, I still can't seem to join an online adventure game consistently. I end up throwing my fucking controller across the room because half the time I'll be getting into an online race and it will just disconnect me for no reason other than, oh yeah, sorry, we can't connect you to the Forza servers. And this has happened to people who have fiber internet, which means it can't be something wrong with my side. It has to be something wrong with Forza servers. They gotta be running servers straight out of like 2003. They gotta be running like fucking CSGO 1.6 servers in there or something. Their servers are on their last legs and they be looking like a Sahara desert in there with all that dust. It looks like sand dunes in there. Probably. And they just don't fix them. They said they fixed them, but they don't. They still don't work nearly as well. And it ruins the experience so much. It doesn't help that racing sucks once you even get into a match, but it decentivizes actually wanting to race anyways. Like, even if the racing was good, it takes too long to even get into a match. So you have those two things. Nobody likes playing online adventure. But at the same time, I do like Forza Horizon 4 racing when it's done right. I will host lobbies online when I can, basically saying, hey, I have a racing lobby and I want to race with people, but I have certain specifications as to what the cars can and can't be, and I find the racing to be very, very close. And the other thing is you get voice chat with that too, so you can actually hear other people. You can hear when they get frustrated. You can hear when they laugh, and it's just a lot more engaged in the experience, and it is way more fun than online adventure, because what you get in online adventure are the tryhards, and what you find in getting racing in a racing lobby that you find on the Looking for Groups page is a nice balanced experience. That's fun because everyone's basically just wanting to have fun. They take the car they think they'll have the most fun in, and they'll just run that car. And it is absolutely wonderful. It is the greatest experience of racing in a game I've ever had. And it's wonderful. But even then, I have problems connecting to those races too. Between actually having to find a fucking Horizon Life session to start up a race in a convoy, when you're already in a convoy, even if you aren't in a life session, why can't you just start a race when you're not in a Horizon Life session? Because if it takes 5 minutes to find a Horizon Life session, I want to be able to play races back to back to back to back. And it's so fucking annoying when you can't do that. No, you have to find a Horizon Life session first, and then you can start a race within your convoy. Why? Why do you have to do that? I don't know, because it's Forza Horizon. Like, you didn't have to do that in previous Horizon games. All you had to do was be in the convoy, and then you can go over, and then you can just start a race. For some reason, you have to find a Horizon Life session, otherwise it will not let you start a race. Makes no sense to me. It is fucking frustrating, considering I just want to play races. I don't want to free roam. I just want to do events. It doesn't help additionally, just because Horizon Looking for Group posts are basically either, 420 cruising, bro, let's go over and cruise for the 30,000th time in my wide-body JDM car. It's just, that's all you see in Looking for Group posts anyways, is just people who want to cruise, which, fine, do what you want to do. It's just annoying because I want to race. I don't want to cruise. I can do that in real life. I don't want to do that in a game. I want to go fast. and all you see are cruising posts, or cops versus civs, or role-playing, which, by the way, I don't fucking get Forza Horizon 4 role-playing. Why do you want to role-play in a Horizon game? Oh yeah, guys, I'm gonna get into my Pagani, and I'm gonna go and do the speed limit in a video game, because I have absolutely no life. That's basically what it is, too. So, anyways, it's just, there's so many problems with Horizon Online, but when you really get into it, it is a wonderful experience. You just have to have the right circumstances, but Playground Games doesn't seem to care enough to manufacture those circumstances. They just seem to, oh yeah, you have online adventure, but it's not fun at all. They just don't seem to care about the experience. They put features in to put features in, and that's about it. They, you know, for what it's worth, it took them months to even implement a proper way to avoid ramming and collisions on online adventures. You know, because you used to have Unimogs that had like 5,000 horsepower just ramming people in S1 class just because they thought it was fun. It took them how many months to make sure that didn't happen? How many months? And they acted like it was such a big deal when it happened, and like they did it as fast as they could. It shouldn't take you that long. It should have been there from the start anyways. Why is it such a big achievement now? You have all these big ass cars ramming people off the road instead of having proper racing. It's called online adventure racing. It's not called online adventure fucking demolition derby. And that's basically what it was for like the first 5-6 months of the game's launch. It's just ramming, because why not? So, like, bottom line is, Forza Playground Games needs to implement features and well thought out features. They need to implement better thought out a better thought out online adventure. They need to think out their decisions instead of just putting in features to put in features. And they need to take care of the hardcore fans, because casual fans only stay for a few months. We stay for a few years. We're loyal and they're not, and they need to focus on what we want instead of what the general public wants for like the first 2 months of the game. Because you're not gonna have those casual players for the entire lifespan, 2-year lifespan of the Horizon game. And it just doesn't make sense to me why they still catered to them a year into the game's life. Because they aren't around. Because they forget that racing games are a niche. That they're a niche genre, and like, once the general public goes, oh wow, the graphics on this racing game that I won't play, they're wonderful, and they'll just abandon the game. They're not the ones that are going to be playing it. So, like I said, Playground Games, you're probably not going to watch this video, but y'all need to step up y'all need to step up your online adventure game, because I just want to race, and this racing isn't good racing at all. And that's why you're seeing offline racing in the background, because that is actually fun. Offline racing is actually one of my favorite things to do, just because nobody's in a meta-ass looking fucking Hoonigan or like a McLaren 12C or whatever. It's just fun to do offline races because they're seamless. You can just do them in 2 seconds, and it's what online adventure should be. Offline races are what online races should be, just online, if you get what I mean. So, yeah, those were my thoughts. Very unscripted. If you have any questions, if you have any comments, drop them down below. I'd love to hear them. If you disagree, if you agree, just let me know. And let me know about the quality of the video, because I worked really hard to ensure that it would be good to watch. 60 frames per second, 1080p. My first video that is actually in native 1080p 60 FPS. Yeah, I really hope you liked the video, and I plan on doing more of these. So until next time, this has been Colin, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.